Hello, everybody out there in Chatland. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to now turn over to introductions. So why don't we go ahead and start? Go ahead, Angela.
I'm Angela, also known as Gangrel Kitty, and I'll be playing Lilith.
You'll be
Wrong
playing
character.
Reaper. So why don't you just restart that whole
Reaper.
thing?
I'm Angela. Yeah. I'm Gangrel Kitty, and I'll also be playing Reaper today.
Hello, I'm Ryan, otherwise known as Voyce Ryleased. I'll be playing Martin MacCalister.
Hey, I'm Doug. I'm going to be playing Ezra, otherwise known as Blinder, who's going to be waking up with some interesting questions.
And I am Xylus, and I will be playing Carver.
Awesome. And of course, I'm Michael, your storyteller, and thank you so much for being here. Okay. With that, let's tell a Blades in the Dark story. Last week in episode 11, our cast of characters had faced the Billhooks. They had met at a place known as Tangletown to discuss how they would both move forward equitably. The conversation was had, and by the end of it, the Billhooks had offered the Risen, which is the cast's crew name. The Billhooks had given them a day to think it over. They spent the rest of the night in Tangletown, mostly, engaging in the sights and pleasures, going to bars, having a drink, and generally engaging in the sort of activities that they had been so busy for the last several weeks that they had not really engaged in other than in small little pockets of time. Eventually, Mercy, who had been there with them, said that she would seek out connection to a gang of individuals known for being sort of the bosses of the district of Crowsfoot. The Crows is their name. Mercy had mentioned that it would be rather hard to get a hold of them, and that it may take some days, some time, in order for her to move through her contacts. But it seemed that the fates were in favor of our crew. As the night went on and they found that they were being followed, Carver with his sharp eye noticing, while everyone else was still sort of reeling from the drinks they had imbibed. The group of 3 individuals moved quickly in on our characters, and in what might have turned into a bloody and violent battle was quickly de-escalated by Reaper screaming at the top of their lungs about the individuals that was attacking them, which drew enough attention from those in Tangletown that several people showed up to the small corner, the narrow thoroughway that they had found themselves trapped in. It happened that an individual known as the name Harlan was passing by the area and heard the yells himself. The crew would later find out that Harlan was a member of the Crows, was the individual that Mercy had talked about, and although Harlan is not very high-ranking in the faction known as the Crows, he serves a very specific job that is important to Tangletown. He's Tangletown's enforcer. He serves as the hand of the crows to make sure that people are keeping the neutrality of Tangletown. After much conversation, the crew exchanged information with Harlan. They determined that he might serve as a valuable contact, and even if they may not be able to make the sort of connections with the crows that would give them the protection they might have been seeking, that at least for the time being, a mutual exchange of information would help them move forward. Harlan told them about a place in the night market, a place known as Pearl Row, that our characters might find quite interesting. They told Harlan about Sergeant Velt's connection to Dunslow, which he said was very interesting. And then, as they all left the dinner in their varied ways, they found themselves back in the gondola, going back to Dunslow, to their hideaway. As they fell into night darkness, taking them, sleep taking them, Blinder experienced something. Something had changed in the way that he interacted with the ghost field. Something had changed in him, perhaps. The sounds, the screams, the whispers were too much. And from the pressure that weighed down on his mind, he nearly cracked. For the first time, more than just Blinder witnessed something supernatural happening to the members of the crew. All of them witnessed a strange blue glow emanating from a necklace that Carver, in his pseudo-experimentation, in that moment that Blinder was experiencing something strange and harrowing, they all witnessed. Blinder and Carver both equally saw a vision. They saw it from two different perspectives. And there was a feeling that each of them felt that was polar opposites. One of malice and hate towards Blinder, and another of hope and longing for Carver. At the end of the experience, Blinder fell into unconsciousness, completely beaten and bruised, mentally fatigued from the experience. And Carver laid on his knees. Something had reached out to Carver, something had ripped the necklace from his neck, screaming no into his ears. The necklace broke into 3 fragments. In time, it is presumed that, with everything that was left over, that Reaper, Martin, and Carver, the 3 that were still awake, Mercy sound asleep in the other room, Blinder now unconscious, that you eventually probably headed to your beds. But I want to return to that moment for the 3 of you. Was there anything that was left unsaid from last week? Do you all silently accept the moment for what it was and then move on to your separate spaces, falling back to sleep for the night, or at least try?
I'd probably try to fall asleep at Blinder's door.
So at the door outside of the study, basically where he's laying unconscious? Okay.
Right.
Martin.
Martin returns back to his cot, but he really doesn't get to sleep for much of the rest of the night. That was too weird and too close to home for him to really think about sleeping anymore tonight.
Okay. So Martin lays restless in the cot, not quite finding the rest and relaxation he might have hoped for. Carver.
Carver will hold the pieces of the necklace in his hand and restlessly contemplate everything that he just experienced. As he maybe leans up against a support beam, just existing in the light.
The experience has exhausted Carver. There's a fatigue, a tiredness, like he'd been working all day. Does he try to find sleep at any point in time?
I think his mind is too preoccupied with analyzing the mysterious message.
I will say then, if you're okay with it, Carver, that in the wee early hours before dusk, even though it is still quite dark out compared to our normal world in a sense, duskfall, like much in all of Akaros, when the sun would normally rise, is still bathed in darkness. There's only the faintest light, faintest glimmer far over the inky black ocean. And in those wee hours of the morning, Carver, sitting in his room contemplating the necklace, will fall into his fatigue. He'll, sort of falling in and out of sleep uncontrollably. And in those moments where he thinks that he's awake, but he in fact falls into sleep, he experiences something. Carver sees a dream, for as much as one can see in dreams. A vision of sorts. But it's unlike any of his previous dreams or nightmares. Carver is not in the desert. He is not seeing the shadow of the life that he may once have wanted. He is not seeing the reflections of his family. He sees something different, as though he is a passenger in someone else's memory. He sees a stone tower, built brilliant and beautiful, rising into the heavens, shining like a beacon. A man walks to that tower, silhouetted in shadow. You can only see the back of him, a young man walking into that tower. As time goes on, there's this sort of a fast forwarding of time that Carver sees, and he watches as this tower crumbles and cracks and breaks, portions of it falling away, bathing the city in its destruction. Houses broken, businesses destroyed. He sees a shape move in the darkness. It moves past him as he sees the young man again, now older. The shape follows the young man, and as though time is passing quickly from one place to another, he finds himself in another portion of whatever town he is in. And he sees the young man walk into a building. A house. There's this sort of joyousness he can feel. Happiness, almost, returning home. But as the man approaches the door, a flicker of light flashes, and the house burns in front of the young man. He's left weeping on his knees. The dream changes, and all Carver sees is a silhouette of a man stuck inside of a box. And Carver sees it from the outside of the box. This man, perhaps the same man, is inside of what would look to Carver like a glass cage. And he sees the same shadow that he saw before moving through the darkness in and out of sight. watching the man inside the cage. Eventually, in that moment of loss that Carver feels fall over himself, there's a moment where he feels those same pangs of fear, of longing. The man falls to his knees and screams, and a blast of light shines from the man's face like an explosion. And Carver wakes up. It is several hours later, and for those of you that do wake up in the morning instead of sleeping in, you hear what sounds like someone cooking upstairs. Sounds of crackling and popping grease. Most likely bacon is being cooked. There's a smell of coffee in the air. The sound of a steeping pot blowing hot with steam, whistling in your ear as you awake.
Making my way to the galley.
Oh, to the kitchen upstairs?
Yeah.
Okay. You used a ship term there, so I was like, we're not on the ship anymore. I'm confused. Yeah. I see what you mean, though. Yeah, so you move up to the kitchen, to the first floor of the Pond Street pub, and you find Mercy is up there, a little, I'm going to say a lot hungover. And she is cooking bacon to the best of her ability. She is wearing a hat and sort of like holding it down over her eyes, kind of basically covering her eyes from what little light of lamps outside is shining through and things of that variety. What were you going to say, Martin?
I was gonna say, like, you want some help there, Mercy, or you got it? Because you look a little worse for wear this morning.
She rubs her eyes. Yeah, if you want to cook, that's fine.
Yeah, just come on over here, sit down, drink some water.
She'll move from the perch that she's in, where she was sort of lazily standing there cooking, and go sit down. And she reaches over on the table where the coffee had been set, pouring herself a cup, and starts to sort of sip at it. There's this moment where she drinks and she's like, oh, obviously too hot. She puts some cream in it, things of that variety, and then starts to, once again, slowly sip at it.
Yeah. Martin will go about making breakfast. Good chunk of breads, if we can get it. Fruit, meat. Was it bacon that she was cooking, or?
Yeah, it was, we'll say it's the last of the bacon that you guys had brought from the boat.
Okay. Definitely hacking that up, and we got some eggs. Get some eggs together. Just make a breakfast for everybody.
Yeah. All the things are set out as though Mercy had planned to do so, and had so far gotten to cooking several strips of bacon and a couple of eggs, as well as warming up some bread hunks with a little bit of butter on them. Reaper, are you sleeping in, or are you waking up at the same time to the smell of coffee, etc.?
Probably wake up to the sound of coffee and everything like that. I will I'll get up, stand up, knock on the door.
Reaper, you'll find when you wake up that someone had placed sort of a blanket over you and put a pillow underneath your head.
Oh.
Because you had said you were sleeping at the doorway, right?
Yeah, so I'll just grab the pillow with an arm, and then I'll slide the blanket over myself, and I'll knock on Blinder's door.
Blinder wakes up to the sound of rapping at the wooden door of the study.
Who is who?
It's Reaper. You alive?
Yeah, yes, I am. You may come in.
Okay, I'll open the door. Come in. Close the door.
Blinder is picking pushing himself up. He's still kind of propped up by one arm on the floor. He looks very coarse, ragged, and worn. He is kind of clammy from having sweat so much last night, and you notice as soon as the door opens and there's light, he's kind of scrambling around with one hand trying to reset a candle, almost like nervously. Hello.
You all right?
And he lights the candle and he seems to calm for a bit. No. You sorry if I came down here because makes me uncomfortable, and but I couldn't. I'm sorry. I haven't been exactly honest. I experience things. You ever have something off in the distance, a sound that you didn't hear until all other sounds had gone away, but then you couldn't unhear it?
Yeah.
And then it's so loud at that point because you know it's there. I hear it now. Not like last night, of course. I couldn't get them out, so I came down here. There's something about the comfort of discomfort. Familiar to me, anyway. I heard Mr. It was making a terrible sound. I must have woken everyone. It was Mr. Carver, all right. I heard him. I heard.
I don't know. I'm assuming so. There was a necklace. There was a glow. There was a lot.
Yes, Mr. Carver.
You don't have to explain.
No,
I just want.
it impacts you. I don't often. You have to understand that even though we are working together, and it's hard for me to trust. But this affects you. Mr. Carver has not been having sleepwalking episodes. He's experiencing something. I don't understand. I was helping him. Fortunately, it seems like my problems have complicated his own. If I fall asleep, not that I expect you to spy on me, but if you see that try to make sure the candle's always lit. There's a new one, please. And for a moment there, I was unsure of where I was, and I thought I was. Yes. I'm sorry. Feel kind of like a leper.
You're not contagious.
No. Not in the normal way. But the dead are hungry, as we are, but they have a real hunger, for life. And those like me, who have used their gifts, who know how to see, we track special interest that can harm those around us. I'm terribly dangerous.
That's why we're friends.
You remind me a little bit of somebody I knew once.
I hope it's a good thing.
Yes. In many ways. I smell eggs.
And coffee.
This is going to be terribly uncomfortable.
We're all just concerned.
Well, I left my clothes upstairs, and I suppose I should walk in.
I'll throw the blanket at him.
Why did you sleep outside?
No?
Okay. I suppose I can't be ignorant of it. Just say it was just a thing. No, no more of this. Let's go.
All right. I'll go out. Walk up to the kitchen.
You notice before you leave,
Mm-hmm.
as you turn and Blinder's more or less consumed with himself at that point, getting up and everything. You notice he grabs the candle, and before you open the door, he kind of hesitates for a second, and you see his hand kind of shaking a little bit, like almost unconsciously, and he blows out the candle, and then you hear his breath, like he was like holding his breath until the door opens.
So a quick thing. From what I understood, this conversation took place at the door to the study, or did Reaper step inside at some point?
I stepped inside and closed the door behind me.
Okay, I was just checking. Okay. So then you guys emerge from the room, the study, heading upstairs to get breakfast?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Martin, in your sort of not falling asleep, exhaustive state, you heard a conversation going on in the other room. You couldn't quite make out all the details, but you definitely, from at least the doors, although they may be thick, they most definitely are not soundproof. And so you did hear that there was a conversation that had happened inside the study. Then you hear the creaky door open and hear their footsteps as Reaper and Blinder are moving upstairs. Oh, sorry, Martin, you're already upstairs getting breakfast. I meant that for Carver. My apologies. Carver would have heard that. Sorry.
Carver will just kind of keep it to himself.
Okay. As I said, you didn't pick up all the details of whatever was said, but you are aware that there was some sort of morning conversation that happened between the two of them. So, does Carver stay in his room, or is he also eventually heading upstairs to get some breakfast?
Carver collects himself after the awakening from the vision,
Mm-hmm.
and after a period of time, he puts the pieces of the necklace back in the doll.
Okay. Just a very quick thing before we, not to say move on to the next scene, before we transition to all of you being up there for the breakfast. Blinder, Carver, and Martin, because none of you had really fallen back asleep, and some of you had experienced things that even though you got a limited amount of sleep, you were unable to really get restful sleep the remaining. All of you are going to take the level 1 condition fatigued, as you all have not received appropriate amounts of rest. Reaper got a few hours of sleep, so I'm at least presuming that even though she may be tired, she's definitely not as tired as the other three. So yeah. So with that, you eventually all find yourselves upstairs in the first floor of the Pond Street pub in the back supply/kitchen area, and you all eat breakfast. Is there any important conversations that are going to happen during that breakfast, or are people sort of avoiding the conversation and topic of what took place last night? Like, what is the general feeling amongst the group?
Oh no, I'll bring it up.
Yeah, I was gonna say if no one else brings it up, I will.
I'll pat Blinder on the shoulder a little bit, and I'll be like, "Hey, looks like he's feeling good this morning."
Yeah, not too much else going on.
He's just
Well, he's not dead.
He's just cradling his tea, and he's just like, like that, like sort of, you know,
you know
trying
we're
to
gonna
hide.
we're gonna talk about this, right?
I imagine there will be quite the discussion. After I've had my teas.
Oh yeah, no, take your time, because I myself would like the very long explanation as to what just the fuck happened last night. As much detail as possible.
Of course, I
But please, finish your breakfast.
think I owe it to you. Yes.
And Martin will basically sit down and eating breakfast, but eating it very, very slowly, and the whole time he's just kind of staring at Blinder, just waiting with bated breath for him to speak.
It's like a dad that caught his kid masturbating, and then the next kid just staring at him.
Not disapprovingly, just more like there is a talk.
Has anybody checked on Carver?
Carver cradles his head as he kind of walks up through the stairway. He turns and looks at everybody assembled there, and he just kind of holds his head down and cradles his head.
Want some coffee? Maybe
It could
some
be
bacon?
useful.
I'll pour him a cup of coffee. Bring it over. Here you go.
He'll take it happily.
Are you Blinder will look over at Carver and set his tea down. Now, very intent. It's not finishing it, and he's like, "Are you okay?"
I'm all right. I would have to say that first foray into your world, a little jarring.
Not my world.
The
What?
world you experience.
Yes. What happened? Why did you see?
I had a moment where I thought I could help. So I grabbed the necklace and put it on. Height of your episode. And it seemed to help to a degree
Hmm.
until whatever happened made its final crescendo.
Yes. Yes. I appreciate the sentiment and the gesture, but I'm afraid it was probably quite foolish of you to do so. You... Well, maybe... So I think there should probably be an explanation. As I have alluded to before, as you've seen, I am a whisperer. It's a colloquial term, really, just for those that interact with ghost field, as is called technically, but is the dead and those things that lie beyond our normal senses. First of all, it is not an ability that is unique to me, merely an ability that I have learned how to use, in a sense. Everyone, if they are trained, can see things. It's the nature of our existence here. Dead come amongst the living and walk and interact. And to those who are perceptive or discerning or trained to be perceptive and discerning, they can learn. But Whisper is something more. It's not that I was not trained. This sense that I have is much more. I pursued it out of necessity once, and it has gathered for me, well, unique talents, if you can use that word. I wouldn't, but most would. However, as one sees more, the more the mind becomes open to those. It's as I was explaining to Reaper, it's like a sound that was always there. You just didn't hear it until all the sounds had washed away. But now, once you hear it, you cannot unhear it. This is an ability that will, well, if the wardens ever find me, I will disappear. I will become as though I didn't exist, and those around me who knew of my existence might as well as suffer my same fate. It is incredibly dangerous for that reason. I try to limit my usage because of that. It will also attract unwanted attention from the dead. Should dead. The dead are always looking for something, and whispers provide a gateway to them. What I experienced last night well, I don't was an evolution perhaps in a sense. Mr. Carver, I believe, is also undergoing a similar evolution, though perhaps for different reasons. Something I tried to warn him about. You see, he has not been sleepwalking. He was given an amulet. Do you have it?
It's shattered.
Shattered. Huh.
Whatever was calling to you, screaming at you in anger, apparently didn't like what was being done.
Well, I don't know what that means. I'll be honest with you, but it can't be good.
Carver will kind of pull his collar back and show like scratch marks near his collarbone.
Yes. I will endeavor with what's been going on with the gang and the toads, and I have not had the proper time to solve remedy, although I do believe I have a source that I can track down. That might yield some answers. I hope you understand that I don't intend to help you develop your abilities. Cope with them, sure. But they've brought me nothing but pain. And been, well, what you saw last night was interesting and unique for sure, but not in the level of agony that is wrought, or destruction that is wrought in my life. Not as much. And I can guarantee the reason why I'm being looked for is because of my abilities. So we must discover what is going on with you. I'm fine. I don't hear... I hear the noise, but it was just too much at the point when I first heard it. It was overwhelming. I couldn't think and breathe. I apologize if I worried any of you, though. Yes. I'm sorry as well for not being honest to something that could bring you danger. I will understand if you have slights or feel ill will towards me for this. I am not a person who has very many options. Unfortunately.
So
And
these
he'll-
abilities.
Go back drinking his tea.
Oh.
Good.
So
Yeah.
these abilities that you possess to deal with ghosts, can you control them? Like make them do things, stop them from doing things?
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
I don't know actually. You have to understand. I'm not an expert on any of this. I had an entirely different life before all this started to happen to me. The first time I took control, or influenced, I guess I don't know, was the mission against the lamp blacks. And I only did that because I felt, well, I mean, I'm the only one here without a physical skill set, other than literacy, of course. So, I mean, that was, I don't know the extent at which I can, or if I don't know anything. I have one ability that when I told you I ate the rat,
Yeah.
it was it's a ritual.
Uh-huh. I'm not going to pretend to know what you're talking about, because I have no idea.
It is not the same thing, but it is akin to it. It harnesses abilities of energy, whatever word you want to ascribe. But it demands sacrifice. Must be made. So I eat animals, and in return I am allowed to surpass physical barriers for a brief moment. It's how I entered the building at the Lamplex sabotage. I didn't want to show any of you, of course, because it's quite unsettling.
Well, the next time you have to eat a rat or a bird. Was that what you had last time?
Yes.
Just not in front of me, if you would.
I have no intention. I will have some of this bacon, though.
And Martin will just let it die down to normal breakfast conversation at that point.
How does Mercy look to be absorbing this information? Carver kind of gauges her expression.
She seems extremely hungover, but was listening as intently as she can. She seems rather confused. Not at what Blinder had said or the way that he explained it, but just at like the raw concept, especially regarding the end of the conversation about the eating of the rat and all of that. She just seems really confused why he would have to do something like that, you know? And also sort of grossed out by it, too.
I believe, unless you have any more questions, of course, I will try to answer what I can. We do have, a matter before us, more mundane one. if we are feeling up to it, discussing it.
Definitely feel that a return to the mundane probably a good.
I second that notion.
And I third it. What are we, what all are we going to be talking about?
Mercy
bill
will,
hook.
With the bills.
real quick,
Yeah.
Mercy will grab some food as you guys all start talking about that, grab her cup of coffee, and walk out of the room. Not like she's upset or anything, more like she's sort of giving you guys space, stretching her legs, taking in some fresh air, kind of an idea. Even though, you know, the air can only be so fresh in Dunslow, but that sort of thing. But please continue.
So the bill hooks.
Right.
I think we're gonna have to give them the bad news.
Bad.
Yeah, we're not working with them.
I thought.
So then we have no allies.
Are we,
Wait,
sir?
are we working with them?
We have.
I thought we were working with the crows.
If we want to build, I think the only option that we really have is to work with Bill Hook.
I actually think it's not a bad idea.
Why is that?
Well, one, me and Mr. Martin had a disagreement over what we needed to do. We don't need to reiterate it, of course, but and needless to say that we are a group that is committed to a certain amount of idealism. Unfortunately, we live in a world where that idealism is not often rewarded. However, having allies who do not care, in fact, use, to quote Mr. Corrin, one of the individuals, the son of the leader of Hooks, who is in prison, fear for them is a weapon. So, if we can come to an amiable agreement for the time being, of support, we pay them to essentially just be the person that we can say that we're the allied with, and occasionally even draw upon their support, perhaps.
Yeah. You know, just walking around knowing that we have the bell hooks as allies is going to make folks not want to come after us.
And in the future, I do believe that there's going to be a conflict over leadership. Now, Miss Aaron seemed to get along with you rather well, Reaper. And Corin, while utterly professional and would not hold any like or dislike against us when weighing what he must do to protect his gang or was hired to do something. We did have a very favorable conversation and have some sort of understanding with each other, a sense. So, even in the event that their leadership situation changes, I believe that we will still have an open dialogue, an ability to keep an open dialogue, gang. As long as we do not threaten their reputation or threaten their resources.
I didn't know you had this conversation. That changes.
Oh, yes. It seems that Miss Aaron is pretending, is putting on airs, as it were, and Mr. Corn feels that she is misrepresenting the gang. Of course, he is the son of the founder gang, who is in prison currently. from what I understand, an exceptionally vicious man. But, yes, we had a quite interesting conversation. Not about business, just about each other.
From that conversation, I would also have gleaned Corin.
Corin, what?
Corin can be reasoned with.
Yeah,
I don't-
seems like it.
Believe me, I don't like shacking up with murderous bastards, but when we're as small as we are, we can use whatever advantage we get.
I think as long as their terms are fair, and we should be able to come to a reasonable understanding, I think. And even the crows respect the billhooks for what they have done. I mean, they are a gang, and a ruthless one. We do not have to like what they do or do what they do, only agree not to get in each other's way and to help support each other occasionally. And they could be a good source of distribution for whatever we steal.
So, when are we going?
I imagine today is they gave us a day.
Well,
Aaron
yeah,
gave
but
us a day.
right now or later?
I'd say that's up to those who have hangovers.
Fair.
I would like personally get this over with. Something matter care of later this evening.
Do you need company, or is this something you need to take care of yourself?
I'm pretty sure that I found Connor. I need to go to a meeting place in order to be sure.
You need backup?
I wouldn't say no to it,
Okay.
given that we're all being attacked randomly on the streets for just who we are. Even in Tangleton.
Yes, I think we should first see to what this meeting as quickly as possible, and then there's a matter of we are being hunted. We did just draw quite considerable attention to ourselves. I think at that point there's some cleaning up to do, and things to be put in order still too. So I will I will take this, and he grabs the very last strip of bacon, and I'm going to go clean myself.
In that moment where Blinder walks off to go down to the washroom, that I presume no one had changed from being a washroom for the time being. It was a place where a basin of water had been set. It's probably not a place where people pee or do number two, in a matter of speaking, but it's at least a place where people can wash up. There's also the actual bath that is on the second story up in one of the rooms. There's 3 rooms up in the second story of the Pond Street pub. 2 of them are bedrooms. One of them was basically a bath room, which is basically just a room with one of those old style baths, with the feet on it that basically sits up above the ground. And that's more or less what's in that room. So there's an actual bath space up there as well. So, but to my point, as Blinder goes walking off upstairs, I presume to the bathroom. Probably
Yes.
collecting water, etc., and heating it up or something for that sort of. In the 1800s, they would boil those big pots and then pour it in, etc. So
Yeah, we don't need to go into some of the gruesome habits of 1900 or Victorian era sanitation standards. Just saying.
We'll say that there's a. Actually, you know what? For the ease, we'll say that up in that room is sort of a steam pot. It's a very large steam pot, and it's nearby, so that you can has a flue that goes out like a window, basically.
Okay.
And so then you can pour water into it, warm it up, and then throw it into the bath. So we'll say that's basically where Blinder heads, and as Blinder heads up there and does all that,
steam and dry his clothes as well at the same time, straighten everything out.
Perfect. As Blinder is off upstairs in the bathroom, are the rest of you doing anything, or are you still just eating breakfast and generally?
Eating breakfast and waiting for Blinder to finish using the washrooms. Go use the wash.
Okay. Anyone else? Martin?
Yeah, Martin isn't actually taking a bath or anything, but he's definitely changing and finding a piece of mirror to shave with, to look at himself while he's shaving. Just
there's a downstairs washroom as well. It doesn't have a full bath with a steam pot or anything. It mostly has like a mirror set on one side with basins to basically wash your face with. It's more of like a face washing, grooming station kind of a thing, just in case you get, trapped downstairs for a day or two and you still want to groom. So,
right, yeah, well, definitely shaving, making myself look as primed and pressed as I can.
Okay. And Carver, are you doing anything in the meantime?
Carver will head down to his room and make a change into some fresh clothes. He'll sit on his whatever sort of resting equipment there is there, and in a chair or on the bed, and he will try to fit the pieces of the necklace together again, or just kind of contemplating.
Okay. For all of you preparing in your mornings and things, for those of you that are still downstairs in the kitchen, I'll even say that Blinder sort of hears this. For those of you that are actually down in the hideaway, you don't really hear anything. For anyone up in the first or second story, you hear some scuffling going on down the street. We'll even say that Blinder, if you peek out the window, because we'll say the window kind of is in an alleyway, and so you can kind of peek out to the main thoroughfare street area. If you put your head out the window. And for those of you that look outside, you see Mercy walking down the street, and she's got a young, probably in his early 20s, late teens, a guy by the scruff of his neck. And he's holding on to his eye like he's got a bruise, like he's just got a black eye or something, and he's and Mercy is carrying him towards the Pond Street pub.
I will go down into it's the main floor. I'll go down to the main floor and meet her as she comes in.
Okay. So you're not stepping outside as she comes up or anything? You're just waiting inside.
I'll just wait till she comes in.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, in case we have to hide the body.
Oh, he's not dead or anything. He just... and you actually, as you sort of peek out the door, or did you peek out to see what was going on, Reaper?
Yeah.
Okay, so as you peeked out, you recognize him. He's one of the rookies from Marlene's pits.
Oh. Okay, I'll walk up to Mercy. What's going on?
I found this kid running around the neighborhood screaming your name.
Why is he holding his eye?
'Cause I hit him.
Why'd you hit him?
Because he tried to fight me.
Oh.
And then when he gave up and started kind of bawling, I felt bad for him.
You made him cry?
Yeah, I sort of hit him in his...
Oh, I see.
Yeah, quick jab to the face, took him down low. He dropped to his knees, started crying, that sort of thing. I feel bad for the kid, she says. She lets go of the scruff of his neck kind of a thing. I didn't know that. Do you know this kid?
Yeah, he's from the pits.
Oh, I feel terrible. I'm so sorry. I feel terrible. He was just running around screaming your name. I didn't know him from anyone. I asked, who the fuck are you? He said, who the fuck are you? I said, why are you screaming Reaper's name? He wouldn't tell me anything, so I thought he might have been like a lookout for another gang or something, or like someone that meant you ill will, so
Yeah.
I told him to shut up. He didn't. It sort of escalated. Also, I'm not in a great mood today. I'm going to be honest about that.
I wonder
And I
why.
spilled my coffee.
Oh.
Yeah.
Go get some more.
Okay. You got
Okay.
this?
Yeah, I got this.
She will turn for a second, like reach out to his shoulder, and as she does, he sort of flinches away from me. She's like, "No, I'm sorry that I hit you. I'm sorry. I didn't know who you were." And then she sort of, kind of awkwardly heads inside with that sort of feel bad, like,
Yeah.
I feel bad, and then heads back inside.
So, why are you looking for me?
You recognize this kid as, his name is Brian. He's one of the rookies that's been around for a while. He's sort of a scrawny little thing. He's not great at fighting, but he's basically become the sort of glorified water boy in a sense. He loves
Yeah.
helping at the pits, and Marlene pays him to, do stuff, because there's tons of jobs that need to be done other than just fighting. There's cleaning and taking care of the fighters and making sure the pits look at least somewhat decently presented. So there are a lot of staff in a sense that work at the pits, and they're mostly just people that get paid by the day or the hour or whatever. And so he's one of the rookies, is what Marlene refers to him as, even though she doesn't have the heart to tell him that he'll probably never be a fighter, just because he doesn't quite have the fortitude for it, we'll say.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so Brian pipes in. He's like, Marlene wanted me to. She got a message from the Ciphers Guild, and I was supposed to deliver it to you, but I was told you were somewhere here, but I didn't know where you are, and I
Started screaming my name.
yeah, I wasn't sure what to do. I was asking around, and I was asking if people knew you, and nobody said that they'd seen you or knew you or anything like that, and I just like, do you have something cold or like some water or
I
something?
I do. Come on inside.
Okay. He takes his hand down for a second, and you see that it is turning into a shiner. Like Mercy popped him pretty good.
I'll bring him up to the kitchen.
Sure. For those of
Hey,
you inside,
Martin.
you see this young, 18, 19-year-old kid, barely any scruff on his face, lanky, kind of small, not really wearing ratty clothes or anything like that, but his clothes are pretty well worn. He comes in with Mercy, with Reaper, shiner forming on his face. Seems a little timid when you guys come near him or anything. What were you saying, Reaper? Go ahead.
No, Martin. Is Martin in there?
I think he's downstairs in the hideaway shaving.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I
How about
presume as you bring
Carver,
him
you didn't?
inside, Mercy sort of slaps the thing closed before you walk into the space, hiding it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we need ice. So there's an ice block somewhere in here, I presume. No? No ice blocks?
We
Oh.
haven't gotten any ice.
Oh.
I was gonna
Well,
save
maybe we
these for
should get some
later.
ice.
There's an ice box, but there's no ice in it. She opens up what basically is the ice box in a sense, opens it up, and reaches inside and pulls out a couple of steaks and just slaps it on his face. He kind of and then holds the steak to his face. He's like, "Oh, that feels nice. That was supposed to be my steak. I'll give up mine for the kid. I feel bad," says Mercy.
Well, I mean, you're gonna cook it anyway. You can cook off the face germ.
Fair. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, never mind.
Well, I was gonna let the kid hold on to it while he walked. I don't know. Walking around with a steak on your face might be a little weird, but
You might get mugged.
for a steak,
People are hungry.
that's fair. The kid, like, at this whole conversation happening between Reaper and Mercy, the kid seems to get more and more, like, doubtful of what's going on. Like, I'm gonna get mugged? Like,
All right, kid. Maybe.
Anyways,
you
here,
should...
take it. He
Yeah.
pulls out the letter and hands it to her. Like in that moment where you're like, okay, kid. You know, like you're definitely getting tired of the kid shit. He's like, oh shit, hands you the letter.
Okay, I'll
It's opened.
open the letter.
It's
Okay.
open. It seems like it was resealed, but it has the obvious thing, like, you know, when you lick the envelope and then you open it and then you seal back with like a piece of wax or something. So it seems like someone resealed it. You presume it was probably Marlene who opened it. You do notice that it is addressed to Marlene on the outside of the envelope. And then once you open it, you realize that the letter is addressed to you, Reaper.
Okay, and what does the letter read?
It seems well written, not like calligraphy or anything fancy like that, but it seems well written, as though the person is obviously educated. It reads, Reaper, simply put. I meant to send you this letter sooner. I wasn't sure where to find you. Hopefully this reaches your hands. This is Virgil. Aldo's doing okay, but I think something's going on with Bro. I hope that you can find me as soon as possible. Best wishes, Virgil.
Okay. So I will read it out loud to Mercy.
Okay.
And I will go finding these two washroom using fools and knock on the door.
So you kick the kid out?
Yeah, I kick the kid out.
Okay, because Martin is in the secret passage. So I presume you're kicking the kid out before you go down.
Out.
Yeah, and then Blinder is upstairs. Blinder's in the bathroom that people already know exists anyway, so it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, you can always kick the kid out of the room into the main space. I presume
I'll
if you
kick him
guys
out to the
cleaned
main
up.
space.
Sure. I presumed after you guys had cleaned up, because you had spent 2 days, you know, during the downtime a while ago, cleaning up. So I presume you guys actually, probably when you eat, you're not actually eating in the back storage space. You're actually eating in the front bar area, you know, which actually has more room, more table space, things like that. You probably brought in a couple of tables or found we'll say you found a sort of a cheap table, maybe traded for it or something like that. And so you have a table that you guys use to basically eat at and stuff like that. So, so then there's no worries about needing to kick the kid out. You basically just leave him there, maybe offer him some of the extra food, and then you head back to the back room, closing the storage room, kitchen room door behind you, and then heading into the hideaway. You now head down into the hideaway, and you see Martin is in the washroom trimming the last bits of his facial hair.
I'll start speaking low. Martin. My intent is to make sure he doesn't cut himself.
He hears the the door opening and the footsteps and everything, because it is stone, so he would probably hear you approaching. So yeah.
Okay. So something is going on with Brill. Virgil wrote me a letter, and he needs us. Well, he needs me to go see him away.
Oh. Okay, I don't know what you expect me to do about Brill. That's Carver's old buddy.
I don't know either.
Huh. Well, you might want to talk to Carver about that. He probably knows more about Brill than we do.
Do you know where he's at?
No?
Oh, all right.
I have no idea where to find him. We can start at the place we went to...
No, I'm talking about Carver.
Oh, Carver. Oh, I don't know where Carver went.
Oh, okay. Well,
Carver, sorry to interrupt, but I believe Carver is in his room, so he probably hears you guys having this conversation about where's Carver at. So Carver could butt in at any point in time if he so wished.
You passed right by me.
Rude. Carver, we need to go see Virgil.
Why? What's wrong?
Something's up with your boy Brill.
All right.
Then I'll go upstairs and notify Blinder.
I'm gonna go.
You hear Blinder snoring in his steam tub thing. Like, and then you knock on the door. Oh, yes.
Question. Have you ever heard of the painting The Death of Marat?
Yes. Very interesting painting.
He fell asleep in his bathtub.
Uh,
No, I'm kidding. So, Virgil says that we should go see him right away because something's going on with Brill.
Oh, is there something? Oh, Mr. Brill. Oh, 1 second here. Splash, splash, splash. And then, a couple moments later, he comes out and he's pulling up his jacket or he's pulling up his shirt and he's like, "Yes, is this? Oh, what is?
I don't know. I'll give him the letter.
Is Mr. Aldo awake?
He's he said he's. Did the letter say he's okay or awake?
The letter didn't say anything necessarily about Aldo.
I don't know. I don't know if he's awake yet or not.
I don't know if we have enough time to see to this immediately.
Well, we can talk to the bill hooks first, and then we can come back. And
Yes, I agree. Mr. Aldo, if Mr. Aldo is awake, there's a great many answers that we need to get from him. And
Yeah.
but Mr. Brill, something's going. This could be trouble too. I don't think we should. We need to be careful.
okay,
Whoever is looking for us may have tracked us to Brill.
okay. Should we all go, or should some of us go?
I think we should go to our meeting first, and then we can discuss what to do about Mr. Brill. We do not need to be rushing into this.
Okay.
I just hope that we have the time.
Yeah.
Let me finish getting ready. We
Okay.
should go.
I'll find Mercy. We have to go. I don't know if you wanted to come with us.
Where are you going?
We're gonna go talk to the bill hook first.
Sure. I'll come with if you want.
Okay.
It sounds like you got a lot going on. I don't mind helping out. I mean,
Okay, I appreciate it.
yeah.
We could probably drop the kid off at the pits.
Yeah, I was, I wanted to mention something to you, Reaper. I kind of want to bring this up to the whole gang. Maybe we'll talk about it on our way to Crowsfoot.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
I'm feeling a lot better. I'll go get the gondola and I'll meet you guys out
Okay.
back. Sound good?
All right. Yeah, sounds good.
Oh, wait. Actually, I just realized Mercy wouldn't know where the gondola was because she was passed out and drunk.
Oh yeah, she was.
So actually,
That's right.
I'll say that she asked, how did we get, did we take the gondola back here? How did we get here?
There's a gondola.
I remember riding in the
Over
gondola.
here.
I just don't remember how we got here.
Oh, let me show you. So I will take her and I will show her.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you go down back into the hideaway.
Into the hideaway, yep.
And then take her through the back door, to the canalway, and then she pops out and she's like, "This is a pretty fucking awesome
Right?
smuggling little thing."
Mm-hmm.
I've heard about places like this from Old Town and stuff like that. Like when buildings, it happens a lot in Duskfall where things get built and then other things get built over the top of them or torn down and then new things get built. So I wonder how old this place is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I woke up in what I presume is Martin's room. It kind of gave me the Martin's room vibe. And I honestly had no idea where the fuck I was. If I didn't see his pocket watch, I would have been weirded out. I would have been like, what the fuck did I do? So then I saw his pocket watch and then, I found my way out, let's just say, but I was definitely surprised when I walked out into the pub and I was like, holy shit, okay, that's where we are. But yeah, so I guess I'll go grab the gondola then while you guys are getting ready. Is it,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
way, she says? In
way.
the canal way. Okay. You know, I might need help. Do you want to just come with me, Reaper, and we'll give the boys
Sure.
time to get ready? Okay. So you and Mercy go and get the gondola because you remember more or less where it is. The two of you are able to move it down the canalway. It's still morning, so it's still rather dark. As it gets closer to afternoon, it will light up more and more, but it will still be like that very bleak, almost barely there sort of light. Not really enough to do anything more than cast silhouettes and shadows across the town that sort of slowly move throughout the 4-ish hours of daylight that actually happen here in the world and Duskwall specifically. And so the rest of the boys, as Mercy had said, prepare themselves, getting themselves ready, and then eventually I presume all of you meet at the canalway. Once you've all finished your meals, gotten ready, cleaned your clothes, everything like that. Blinder.
Yes. Yes. But point of order, or just a quick question. Because I'm not familiar with gondola etiquette / tracking. Like, how theoretically, if we
Mhm.
stole this gondola,
Mm-hmm.
how would this person find? I mean, like, did they have like license plates on the back of these gondolas or names like ships or something like that, or like distinct marks, or are they just like a boat? How do you distinguish one gondola from the other?
For a person who's not a gondolier, it may be hard to distinguish between them. A lot of them do look very, very similar. So for you, you're not quite sure.
Okay.
You presume though that there's some sort of understanding amongst gondoliers, and that there's some respect and
Okay.
perception when it comes to each other's things. In that same way that, you know, when you guys take this back to Crowsfoot, you know, when other gondoliers see you, you're obviously not gondoliers. You're obviously not dressed in the same way, or you don't work in the same
Gotcha.
way. You don't have that sort of practiced grace that a gondolier would have when
So-
moving their boat.
So it's not like stealing a car. It's like everybody else would know. It's like, hey, you stole that car. You know.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely would be kind of one of those weird things. It's like, because it's obvious that you're not quite as accustomed to it
Yeah.
and practiced.
Because I didn't know. I initially thought that we had bought the gondola, but then when I was listening back over this week, we rented it.
Yes, you did
Like,
rent it. Yes.
apparently, yeah. So
The gondolier wouldn't have sold it to you for only a coin, the entire boat. I mean, think of gondolas
Yeah.
as basically sort of taxis, right? They're sort of investments unto themselves. And especially the size of this one, like a gondola that can carry comfortably 6+ people, is a very large gondola, which means it was quite expensive. So,
Sure.
yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I meet them.
Sure. So you all meet back at the canalway. You all hop into the gondola, heading across the waterway back over to. Are you heading to Tangletown, Crowsfoot? What is your plan first?
I can't. Where's
You're muted.
No, I'm not. I
Oh.
was
Well,
speaking away from the microphone. Sorry.
Just to sort of ask the question before we need to worry about the map or anything like that. Tangletown is the place that you met the Billhooks, which is just off of the Crowsfoot district. Crowsfoot district is where you rented the gondola from, the gondolier. So I presume at some point you'll probably return to that dock where you met that gondolier and probably leave the boat there. Maybe you'll find him and you'll give him the boat back or something, however that goes.
Yeah.
So my question that I was asking for clarification was, are you going to Tangletown to meet the Billhooks, or are you going to Crowsfoot and trying to meet them somewhere else or something?
No, we're gonna meet them in Tangletown,
Okay.
but we were gonna drop off the kid at Crowsfoot.
Oh,
Is
the kid?
Isn't the pits and the Crowsfoot?
No. The pits is in the current
It
district
does-
that you're in.
Oh, okay.
So the way that
Well,
works is,
we'll leave him alone, and
I can show you the map here really quick if there's any sort of confusion. And so when you guys leave here, you're able to take the gondola and travel up this waterway to Tangletown, which is this little section. Let me zoom in here so you can see what I'm pointing at here. See that little weird section in the middle of the space right there? It looks like a little this thing. Oh, you can see my cursor now. There we go. See this little space in here? That is Tangletown.
Cool. And just because we could see your cursor, just to reiterate, so we all have a definitive understanding. Where was the?
Yes, for
the
some
Pond
reason it
Street?
wasn't showing my cursor earlier, but now it is. So
Yeah.
this is these little buildings right here. This is where Pond Street starts, and a section of this that used to be a farm has been
Okay.
turned basically into Pond Street, into
Okay.
the Pond Street shopping district. So it's this section of space right here, as I had said, to the west of Iron Hook Prison,
Yeah.
and it connects to this canalway basically right here. Cool. Okay, cool. So now that everyone is aware visually in the space, you guys head up this area right here to Tangletown, which is this space right here, and then you'll be heading into Crow's Foot, basically, into these sort of docks. Small, there's like docks further in here. There's small docks in here, where you guys would like drop off the gondola, that sort of thing. The space that I talked about in Night Market before, when you had talked to Harlan, is this little section of town over here, by the way, if you can see that. That is basically Dundridge and Sons is right in here, and Pearl Row is right over here on this side, if you can see where my cursor is.
Go a little slower because I can't. Your cursor's the same color as the.
No, that's fine.
Harlan.
I'll zoom in a little closer here for you. So Dundridge and Sons is over on this side right here, and Pearl Row is over here. Is actually this little section of buildings over here.
Okay.
If you can see where I'm pointing to, basically right in here.
I
Yeah,
can.
that's Pearl Row, so that you know relatively where it is. As I had said, it's near the bridge that goes to the Six Towers, which is this bridge right here. Okay, so now that all of those explanations are out of the way and people can sort of gain a better visual understanding of where the characters are, where they've been, where they might go, let us return now to what they are doing. So our characters take the gondola to Tangletown. They arrive at Tangletown, I presume heading back to that point that they had met the billhooks at before. Okay. As they arrive, they see a much smaller entourage of individuals. They see about 5 members of the billhooks. Aaron is not here. You see Corin is here, and he is... They seem to be sitting at a table that they've brought over to that section, and it looks like they have taken food or bought food from one of the many taverns, restaurants, etc. within Tangletown and brought it to where they were hanging out, and have just been sitting here eating, and more or less the 4 other individuals other than Corin are more or less interacting, and Corin is sort of quietly listening into them. Reading, you notice as you approach that he's actually reading a book while he eats, and doesn't seem to be paying the other 4 individuals much mind. They're sort of joking around, and you get the sense that they're probably telling each other dirty jokes or something of that variety, as they're all sort of laughing and enjoying their morning, afternoon, sort of brunch time, I guess would be the appropriate term for it. So you all come walking down the familiar path as you had done the night before. Except in the daylight, it now looks very different. Like there's this different aspect to Tangletown. In the night, Tangletown sort of forms in shadow, and there's this amalgamation of everything feeling connected in a way. And as daylight is starting to crop up in the sky, and you can actually see it more clearly without all the lantern light, you realize it is far more rough. It is far more disjointed. There are more spaces between things. You can actually see the water below it, and it is a very different sight in the day. But as I had said, you come walking down the walkway, seeing those 5 individuals, and you are all there, Mercy following in behind you. What do you do?
I'll find a wall nearby to knock so they know that we're there.
There was one wall off to the far side, but we'll say there's a box nearby you. You're able to knock on the box as you
knock
approach.
on the box.
Okay.
Yeah.
You knock on the box. Corin had already seemed to notice you, like he was looking your direction in glances, but the 4 other individuals at the knock actually perk up and look your direction. Most of them are no longer carrying pole arms or anything like that, but you do see that all of them have at least a meat hook on them, and most of them have hatchets on them as well, at their belts. That's sort of a day-to-day weaponry, as it would be.
Good morning, folks. Or almost afternoon.
They all give you a nod, and some of them are like, morning, kind of cascading
Yeah.
through the group.
We came to speak with Aaron.
Aaron is not here, says Corin, as he stands up from his chair. He takes a chair next to him and places it nearby, and then shoos with his hand a few of the individuals out of their chairs. And then, before he sits back down, he waves his hand in front of the chairs, offering you all to sit. And then he sits back down.
Okay. I'll take a seat.
Do
I'll
my-
go over and sit as well.
Yeah, I'll actually sit down as well.
Same. So when Blinder sits, he's going to basically be very controlled in the way he looks and the way he presents himself. He's not going to carry a demeanor that indicates in any way whatsoever that them and Corin had their personal conversation. So he's not going to, comment or, like be like, "Hey, chum," like strictly all business.
Okay. He's being very professional. Okay,
Yes.
sure. So you all sit down. Is there anything else from anyone specifically regarding how you are sitting? Do you seem comfortable? Do you seem uncomfortable? Are you looking at every person that's there, sort of analyzing them? Like any important tidbits like that amongst the different characters? Reaper.
Reaper is taking a look at those that are around. He cleared the table of the other 3 guys, right?
There are 4 other guys.
4 other guys. He cleared the table and sent them away?
He had 1 extra chair, and 3 of them stood up, and so one of them is still sitting, and then the other 3 are now sitting on boxes nearby. They're just no longer sitting on chairs directly next to the table that's been set out. Remember I had said that there was like a table that they had all been sitting at the night before?
Yeah. So I'm looking, I'm just studying their faces and just getting a lay of the land.
Okay.
Kind of relaxed in my seat.
Okay.
Martin. Yeah, Martin sits basically almost like a statue, not completely still, but definitely up, attentive, paying attention to what's going on. And he does give a quick up and down to everybody that's there, and making sure that they know that they see him doing it.
Sure.
Just kind of sizing everybody up here for S&G at the moment. But
Sure.
definitely trying to see who's a more seasoned fighter, who looks like they're going to cut and run.
None of them seem like they're going to cut and run. None of them seem afraid in any way, shape, or form. All of them seem to be taking cues from Corin. There's obviously a great deal of loyalty that these 4 individuals feel towards Corin. You can tell just by the way that they regard him. There had been some empty faces in the interaction before last night where people were sort of half-heartedly following along with a little jest and pokes and prods that Aaron had said, but it seems like amongst the entirety of the gang that you had met last night, minus Torval, that these 4 individuals seem to definitely take their cues from Corin. They seem self-assured. They seem, although some of them seem younger, like they might be the newest generation of Bloodhooks in a sense, or Billhooks in a sense, but they nonetheless seem confident. They seem well-trained. They seem steady. And the very fact that Corin sits his hands on the table comfortably sort of reassures them. So yeah. Carver, anything?
Carver will take his jacket and kind of hang it on the back of the chair. And then he will very slowly and visibly to everyone pull the hook that was used to hang the paper and slide it onto the table over towards Corin. And then he will sit down with his hands together on top of it.
Okay. We'll say that's the sound of Corin sort of turning a page while you guys are all getting comfortable. He turns that last page, setting a sort of simple bookmark into it and putting the book away. This is obviously far less formal than our previous conversation last night, so I was just simply asked to wait here and to find out what your opinion is, discuss terms. I've been told what Aaron is comfortable with, and I plan to discuss what I'm comfortable with too.
Okay.
So, let's start with you.
Well,
What are you hoping for from this endeavor?
we're hoping for an alliance, and as far as we're able to have eyes and ears, maybe someone that we can call in a time of need, and the knowledge that we're allied with you.
Okay. I guess my question is this. What sort of gesture are you willing to offer to facilitate that friendship? Are you talking about you're going to pay us in the same way that the Toads plan to pay us? Or are you hoping to work out some other sort of deal?
Hang on a second. I'm gonna whisper over to Blinder. We don't want to work for them. Want to pay them, correct?
I would find out what kind of we're unaware of any sort of assistance they might need, or what that might entail, but inquire if find out our options. If it suits our ethics, abilities, I wouldn't be opposed. Of course, money does go a long way, so either situation does not seem bad.
Okay. I'll lean back. So we can pay you or we can assist you. Wasn't aware that you were in need of assistance, but what options do we have?
I think the point to be made here is that it's going to pass around that the Billhooks had dealings with you.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be spoken about how one of our members, his cousin, was a member of the Toads, and you took them down. People are going to expect retribution. He expects retribution. And so there needs to be a price paid.
Okay.
Now, I understand that you said, at least last night, that you aren't sure about taking the same deal that the Toads took. And I'm fine with that. I don't have a problem with it. I don't really think that Aaron has a problem with it either. I think the point that should be made here, though, is that no matter what happens, we won't look bad by the end of this deal. Meaning we won't take one for the team, as it were. You will pay us what we feel you owe us, whether you want to work for us or not, in the same way the Toads did. Because we would much rather it pass around that you had beef with us, and you made good, and now we're fine. We didn't need to seek out any other retribution.
Right.
Now, money always speaks. Silver is always accepted. But there are a number of other things that you could do to pay us. It's up to
Such
you.
as?
We have things in the works, things, let's say, that are out of our control, that we would normally hire a small time to handle and hope that they didn't piss on the job. But you, a young crew, earning a rep, this could be good work for you. Obviously, it's not going to pay as well as if you were doing it for yourselves or if you were just pulling a job for someone. But if you're willing to perform one of these tasks for us, I think we can be friends.
Binder will, to whisper with Reaper.
Yeah.
I think don't trifle with their respect. Their respect is the key to this. And they need to look good. We make them look good. And I think that performing a task, as long as it's not assassination or anything, would be fine. Make it known what are the limits of our capabilities are, not our ethics, because they want to know that we're resolved in what. But we don't want to piss on it, do we? So.
Okay, that sounds agreeable. So, what do you have on the menu?
We got a couple things, off the books that need to get done, but it's nothing today.
Okay.
Any of the work that could easily get solved, roughing people up, getting those sorts of things, we could handle that ourselves. We need a delicate touch for the sort of work I'm talking about, something outside of our wheelhouse, something I presume a young, sort of malleable crew would be capable of performing, or at least be willing to find a way to get it done. Is that fair?
I'll look over at the rest of you guys.
Martin nods his head.
Are there any things you're not willing to do? I mean, obviously, as it said, if we wanted someone dead or something like that, we've got plenty of people that can do work like that. But is there any sort of work that you would prefer to avoid?
Go ahead, Blinder.
Right now, we all come from different backgrounds, and we wish to avoid the attention of significant political influences. We would rather avoid if we better. It might complicate things. Not the blue coats, mind you. Just higher political authorities.
You don't want to get involved in places like Charter Hall, Brightstone. That's basically what you're saying.
Essentially.
Sure. Okay. Well, I think for the time being, we can say that we've worked out a mutually sufficient deal between ourselves and yourselves, yes?
I think so.
Okay. Is there a place where we can find you? Or a place you would prefer to meet? I mean, meeting at Tangletown is, although it's a wonderful, neutral space, we're not going to be sitting around Tangletown all the time waiting to hear back from you.
Yeah. We can meet on Pond Street. I'll give him the address to the bar.
Before you do that, actually, Mercy will put her hand on your shoulder and be like, "Yeah, Pond Street."
Okay.
And sort of like trying
okay.
to cut you off.
Pond Street. Yeah. Okay, I'll do that.
Okay.
Beat me to it.
Oh, was Martin basically going to step in too?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll say that Martin does so too. He like reaches a hand out, puts his hand sort of on her arm or something, and then Mercy has a hand on her shoulder. We'll say,
like Pond Street.
Yeah. Pond Street. Yeah. You all sort of Pond Street. Yeah, Pond Street. Yeah, that'll be good. I understand. Well, I think the formal portion of our conversation is over. Appreciate you coming here.
Appreciate you, sir.
Is there anything else you need before you go?
I'll look at everybody else.
Is there a time that we should be expecting you?
A couple days.
All right. That's good to know. Just so that we don't have people randomly walking around, not knowing what they're doing.
Sure.
Blinder's gonna look around. He's gonna study his surroundings. Is there still the sort of audience?
Yes, but it's a little less so. It seems like during the day, people are up to a bit more work. Right, there's more things going on. Sure, there's boats still coming in and going out, but the evening time is where that business happens, but more people are sort of acting leisurely and drinking and enjoying themselves. So there is definitely a crowd of people leering in or nearby, trying to listen in, that sort of thing. But there's far less ears and eyes.
I have one small thing. If of course, if you're not comfortable with it, we are a young gang, crew, whatever you want to use, and you are notoriously feared, and probably undoubtedly have your fair share of enemies.
That's true.
If we leave this dock with any question as to whether or not we might be dealing with you in the future, we are at risk. I would much rather think that, at least for the time being, until rumor solidifies itself by our actions, and we have made good, that I would, a handshake and a small smile.
You want people to think you work for us. That's what you're telling me.
I want people to know enough to stay away from prying their eyes.
Okay.
Because if we walk away from this gang or this dock, and there's any question about whether or not we are or not working with each other or for each other, well, same thing that happened to the Toads by us can happen to us by somebody else.
Sure.
Of course, Reaper. And then a blinder will stand up and take 2 steps back. Very casually, not like...
Corin will motion over to some of the other guys and point to the pitcher. 2 glasses will be slid down. The pitcher is passed to him. He pours 2 glasses out, one for himself, one for Reaper, presumably. Pushing the cup over, he grabs the cup in his left hand, holds it to you.
Okay, I'll mine to his.
Cheersing you. Takes a long drink, and then basically reaches out his hand to shake yours. In the same motion of you guys have finished talking, he sort of stands up like this is the end of the conversation, making it very obvious, very apparent that you've reached some sort of accord, that something has been struck between your two gangs. And he says very loudly, "It will be a pleasure to work with you," as he nods to all of you.
Likewise.
And I think that is where we will go to our break. So after cheersing to their deal, shaking hands with one another, and Corin loudly pronouncing to those there and those listening in that he looks forward to them working together, our characters ended the conversation, said their goodbyes, and left Tangletown, returning to the dock that they had rented the gondola from, and tied the gondola to its place. We'll say that you found the specific gondolier who's sort of stressing out and like thinking like worried, and you find him, and of course he's like, "Oh, thank you so much for not ruining my ship." Oh, he like ends up coming up to the gondola and like kissing it a bit, and he's like, "Oh, it's so great. I hope that you've been fine. I've been so worried though. I'm gonna be quite honest about it. What were your names?"
I'm purposely not saying anything. I'm just looking at him and looking at everybody else.
We are the Risen.
The Risen. Okay. You're a new gang here in Crowsfoot?
Yes, we are.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll make sure that, you know, if anybody ever asks, that the Risen they stick to their deals, you know.
We endeavor to do so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you have a good one, he says, and then you guys part ways, heading through Crowsfoot. I now presume, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you're going to be heading to the Night Market District, to where Virgil's sort of hideout was, in order to check in about what the hell is going on there. So we'll say you rent a cab, sort of a covered cab, so that people aren't noticing you. It's a simple payment of a few silver to take you from that district to the other district. You arrive a distance down the street, presumably because you don't want to pull up right to it. You make your way through hidden back streets, etc., until you find yourself at this small little entrance way to this back space that Virgil has been using as a medical care facility for Aldo. Rapping on the door opens, and you see Virgil's looking around like he seems incredibly nervous. And he says, you weren't followed, were you?"
No.
"Okay, come in," he says,
Okay.
and then he gets out of the way of the door, letting you all in. Once you've all stepped inside, Mercy included, who was there with you, the five of you have arrived inside. He takes one last peek outside, making sure, shuts the door, and then locks it, and then walks past you back down to the medical space. As you step down the stairs leading to the room that has been sort of a hospice, in a sense, for Aldo, and you walk through the doorway, you see that Aldo is in fact, yes, sitting up, at least for the time, seemingly conscious. As he sees Reaper walking through the door, a giant smile cracks across his face. There's a grumble in his chest, like it seems like he's about to say something, and then he kind of coughs a little bit, and obviously he puts his hand to his chest in a bit of pain, kind of a thing. He motions over, and Virgil quickly walks up to him, handing him some sort of hot drink or something. He sips at it with Virgil's help, and then tries to sit up a little higher, Virgil helping him, putting pillows behind him. "Yeah, it's good to see all of you," says Aldo in a very low tone. It's obvious that, just not by the way that I said it, but in the mannerisms and the way he holds himself, it's obviously sort of still a struggle for him to really speak in the way that people who suffer damage to their vocal cords from burns, smoke, etc., it often is a long process before they're able to, speak in the same way, in the same tone, with the same timbre. Blinder.
Blinder's gonna hang towards the back of the room, not out of sight or anything, but like, just kind of like try to blend in with the surroundings.
Right, he's trying to hide behind people a little bit. Okay.
Last time we talked with you, last time I met you, you were being stabbed, and he just doesn't want any misunderstandings.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
He does look extremely. There's a look of guilt on his face, almost though.
Okay.
Like.
So it's good to see you awake.
Yeah.
How was your nap?
He chuckles, obviously in pain when he does. Yeah. I'm told it's been quite a bit. He sort of stares off, as though the realization of the time that's passed and everything that took place is sort of resting on him in that moment. Where's Eunice?
She's back at the place. We can go grab her if you want.
At that point, Virgil sort of takes Aldo's half hand, sort of trying to motion towards Virgil, but still, struggling, weakness, etc. And Virgil's like, yeah, that's, I mean, I can give you more time to catch up, but,
We can catch up in a little bit, but what you wanted to say sounded urgent.
yeah. Brill stopped sending medicine a few days ago. I figured, maybe he thought that Aldo was getting better, or maybe he didn't care. And then, a day or so after the medicine stopped coming, some people started peeking around the place. At first they came by and said that Brill just wanted to make sure everything was okay. I didn't mind, I mean, Brill hired me, so I figured, probably something official. But they kept coming back. And, it became pretty obvious to me that they weren't looking for me or for Aldo. I think they're looking for you. And not in that, hey, can you pass a message along sort of way. If you sort of catch my drift here. I'm worried about Aldo staying here.
Okay.
I think it's just a matter of time before Brill hears from his men that Aldo is doing well and can speak now. And it's only a matter of time until I would think that he uses Aldo to find out whatever it is he's trying to find out. Or find whoever it is he's trying to find.
Okay. Well,
I think it's Martin.
Martin that they're looking for?
Yeah. I heard him say something about him. Description. They didn't think I was listening, but I heard him say, someone asked a question and they said he'll have a pocket watch, dresses well, keeps well, something like that. And I couldn't remember exactly what y'all looked like specifically, but seeing Martin, right? That was your name? Yeah, seeing Martin out here makes sense. I mean, he's got the watch, dressed pretty well.
Wait, they specifically said something about a watch?
Yeah.
With that, he'll kind of take the pocket watch that he's wearing and unhook it from his vest and kind of squirrel it away in a hidden pocket. Did they say
Okay.
why they were looking for me?
Hmm?
Did they say why they were looking for me?
Like I said, I just overheard them. I just overheard them talking about a person. I didn't hear why or anything like that. But yeah, I don't think Aldo's gonna be safe here much longer. I honestly think you should move him as soon as possible. Once you move him, I'm probably gonna get the fuck out of here too.
All right.
Mr. Virgil.
Virgil's my first name. You don't have to call me Mr., sir.
Aldo obviously has not covered fully, and well, we are in a different position now. If we were to be able to supply his medicines, can we perhaps work out some sort of compensation for overseeing his recovery? I know you are not cheap. I would like to pay you.
You can tell he sort of is thinking it over, chewing on it for a second.
I will not lie. This is a situation with Mr. Brill. I understand it's got me quite upset as well. But we have accommodations that we can see to Mr. Aldo's recovery, and that is not located within this particular district. And you could always say that we made you do it.
I plan to let you leave here with Aldo. And if you do leave here with Aldo, then Brill's gonna blame me.
About that, he will blame you, and he will assume that you have worked with us in some capacity, and he will undoubtedly be very interested in what you told us or what the details of this conversation. Might I suggest something that will be uncomfortable for you, but in the end will spare you from more intense, vigorous conversation? Oh, yes, Mr. Carver, you have some.
Carver will look over at Virgil at that moment, kind of look over at Blinder, and then he kind of gets that light bulb, and before both of them can come to some sort of agreement, he looks over at Virgil and socks him across the eye.
Just clocks him in the face?
Yeah, just... And he says, I'm sorry about that, but you would have blocked if I'd have told you it was coming.
He like... Why did you punch me in the eye?
Has to be convincing.
I was gonna ask to come with you. Even Aldo starts laughing. You know, there's a chuckle from Virgil, even a little bit too. Like,
that was not how I was interpreting what you were saying, Virgil.
what I was gonna ask was, could you put me up for a while? You know.
Yeah. Well, shit, I think I owe it to you now.
Yes, Mr. Carver. Really, I was.
Well, I was thinking along the same lines, you know? Plausible deniability, but I was going to ask first.
You're sick. I mean, you're both very sick.
He walks off, you know, sort of chuckling about the whole thing, and heads up into like the kitchen space, and then he comes back and he's got sort of like an ice pack sort of thing, you know? It's not really like plastic or anything. It's more like he took like a rag, put some ice small chunk of ice. You hear him break it off of a larger chunk, you presume, and then put it into the thing, and he's holding it over his eye.
We have some steak somewhere that I could get for your eye.
Oh, fine. Maybe I should have been more, forthright with what I was hoping for.
And lesson
learned with you. Lesson learned with you guys. Just say what I mean. Don't lead you on, okay?
Especially when Blinder's talking, because then I get confused.
I really don't. Yes. Okay. Well.
No, it's not an all the time thing. It's just sometimes you use words that are
Indicate that you should assault our friends.
Carver looks over at Blinder and he's just, I genuinely thought that's where you were going.
As did I.
Even you said it had to be convincing right afterwards. I'm not an idiot.
Kind of was, I admit. I'm sorry. I misinterpreted Mr. Virgil as well.
My first name's Virgil. You don't have to.
It's a habit.
I'm gonna sock you in the eye. He says.
Hey,
he sort of grumbles and walks over, checking on Aldo some more.
It's just an old habit. Anyway, we appreciate you bring us in. Of course, we would arrange to put you up, and I think that is the same, Mr. Carver. Of course, you are under no obligation, but you were. What is the nature of your relationship with Mr. Bill? He was the one who. Well,
given all new information, my relationship with Mr. Brill has moved from tense to hostile.
But you were in his debt of some sort. Like,
if he's hunting one of my, I owe him nothing.
Well, I speak of the history. What is the history between you two?
The history was born out of a need for substance.
I see.
However, the substance he planned to provide failed to abate what it needed to.
I see. So it was only personal. It was not personal. It was professional, more or less. Okay, I see. I was just wondering whether or not Mr. Brill would be able to pursue his want of finding Mr. Mark.
Oh, yes.
I just walk up to him and say, "What's up?"
I don't think we need the trouble right now, but I think we should remember it. But yes, we should return to this at some point. Especially since we have a reputation to...
I'm not going to lie.
Later.
I would definitely... I would expect that Brill knows who we are. Brill deals with him primarily. And then secondary, which is what everybody else sees as the substance.
I see.
Mercy sort of chimes in. Martin, didn't you say something about Brill was really weird when you met him that time?
He seemed a little off. Not any more than anyone else, but he seemed a little off. I didn't trust him. I don't like him. And now I especially don't like him if he's sending people after me. Because I'm one to just walk up to the person looking for me and introduce myself.
Yeah, that you had told me about that. You said that you and him talked or something, but he was really weird when he heard your name or something.
Well, I'm not sure if hearing my name is what triggered him being weird, but there was something a little off about him.
Sure.
So definitely we need to deal with this situation sooner rather than later. And as Martin says that, you can kind of see like him doing mental math behind his eyes, because his eyes are kind of darting back and forth a little bit.
Ezra will get a look of newfound respect when he sees that. Like he's just like,
Mercy
Carver will
chimes
lean
in.
over
Oh,
to
go ahead.
Reaper while they're having that conversation. And he'll kind of whisper to her, I might be able to deal with this alone later.
You sure about that?
It's easier for one of us to slip in and out undetected.
Fair.
I think yes, let's see to Mr. Aldo and in the situation first, and then we will deal with the timing of our response. I think we also have other matters to consider as well. Many other matters. But do you intend to harm Mr. Brill? Is that your wish, or are you seeking a conversation, or just to get some, so I may think about? I know Mr. Martin will probably want to harm him, understandably. What is your motivation?
I just want to ask him what's up.
I see. So you think a full, just attack it head on situation?
Generally, the way I solve problems is handle it directly, get it done, get it over with, take whatever ass whooping that comes with it, and move on.
Yeah.
But I have no idea what Mr. Carver has planned, which I know I so rudely interrupted.
I think I know Brill well enough to know that a simple show of force might handle the situation for a night. But he has people. He has resources. Making him feel vulnerable might solve the problem altogether. Letting him know that I know he's weak. Showing him that I'm not what he assessed me to be in the first place. And that the rest of you are more capable. Bearing the claws, so to speak.
Can we afford the attention? That is the problem.
Well, if I know Brill is a creature of pride, like I'm assuming he is, because that's what he's demonstrated to me, he wouldn't risk losing reputation over something like that. But he definitely also would not risk continued embarrassment, which means that his pursuit would probably stop.
We may incur more than the negative attention of Mr. Brill. That is what I'm driving at here. We have been very busy these last the short time we've been together. And we have only recently acquired accommodations and are starting to get going. We have things in the works. I think we need a time to reassess and batten down the hatches and then approach this beast head on if we need to. But this can't be like the toads. This can't. That was a fortunate, and we succeeded. But the consequences are becoming. We incurred
Toads coldly murdered a man in the streets. This is nothing like.
But rumor of what we did got around, and we are all being looked for. We need some time to let the heat die down. A night, maybe two. I don't know. Let's move, Miss. Ultimately, what you all decide, I will abide. I would I think I've run my course on this argument. I leave the decision to you.
Well, I mean, from me, it was a question, so.
Well, I mean, if you think you can handle the Brill situation, I got faith in you that you can handle it. But understand that if it doesn't get handled, I'm liable to walk right up to his face and do something stupid.
That's how you die.
It wouldn't necessarily be me dying.
Take some time, think about it.
Oh no,
I think-
I would much prefer you deal with it rather than me having to.
Oh, sorry. I said I agree with Blinder about keeping our heads down for a couple of nights, letting the heat die down.
Well, I think I'm good for that.
During
But we
this
gotta
time that
move
you
on.
guys were, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say, but we got to move Aldo, right?
We got to move Aldo like now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As I was going to say, during this time that you guys are having this sort of private conversation, I'll presume you step off away from Virgil and Aldo's. You're not awkwardly discussing your private business, right in front of Virgil, who you sort of barely know, and Aldo, who is more. And we'll say during this time, you probably overheard Mercy being like, "How rude of me. Let me introduce myself." And she introduces herself to Virgil and to Aldo, and they chit-chat a little bit, and Aldo, more or less listens as Mercy is talking, like asking where they're from and stuff like that. And they're more or less just having sort of like small talk while you guys are all talking. And then once you finish, you sort of look over and they regard you at this point. So what's the plan? Asks Mercy.
Mercy, do you know of a place that we can take Aldo and Virgil, or?
Well, why wouldn't you want to take him back to your place?
I guess we could, but what if they find us there?
I mean, better for them to find you at a place you can defend than find you in a random place you can't keep watch on without
That's fair.
spreading yourself all over the city.
I was more wondering about the ability of us to be able to take Aldo or keep Aldo safe, but I did forget that there is, yeah. So yeah, I think that we should take him back to our place. We have to do a taxi ride, I guess.
Sure. I mean, you got those bedrooms upstairs.
Yeah.
Probably give Aldo one of those.
Question.
I just finished cleaning out the front upstairs.
Reaper's question. What's up?
Where is Eunice?
Eunice,
She's on the boat, right?
she was on the boat with Mercy, yes. And since Mercy has left for the last day or so, whatever it's been, Eunice has been on the boat. Presumably.
So I guess we moved Eunice too?
Yeah, I mean,
Since she's all by herself?
Yeah, she's been getting cooped up. I've been going in and checking in on her now and again. I mean, I've only been gone the day, because I came and hung out with you guys yesterday morning and stayed the night. So I figured Eunice would be okay for the day. So, I mean, I could swing back by there if you guys got other stuff you need to do and check in with Eunice. And then do you want me to just bring her over to your guys' place? Okay.
Yeah, that sounds like a deal.
Yeah, sure. I'll do that, and y'all figure out this Aldo business, and we'll meet you back at the Pond Street.
Okay. Let's find ourselves a taxi.
Yeah. So she shakes Virgil's hand, nods to Aldo, and heads out back into Night Market, and sort of disappears off into the alleyways and the crowd. It is now starting to become the sort of midday point. The streets are bustling at their most vibrant and bright. There are carriages all about, not necessarily like super fine carriages, but as you get closer to the center of Night Market, it is very much a high-class space. So you can see them coming and going from different places and shops and things of that variety, at least in the distance. It's very easy to find a carriage or a cabbie in this portion of town with all the business and all the booming cargo that comes in through Gaddock train station. There are a ton of people always coming here to buy wares and sell wares and things of that variety. So there are a ton of cabbies sort of waiting around. And after a very short time, you could find yourself one that is probably large enough to contain Aldo and yourselves. Maybe not all of you would fit inside of it. You might need to rent two of them.
Yeah.
But you could otherwise, pay the price and basically get those cabs to safely move Aldo over to your portion of time and safely transport everyone else. So, yeah. Blinder.
When we're when we arrive in Dunslow,
Mm-hmm.
and we're on our way back to Pond Street, Blinder's gonna, look off to the fighting pit and get an idea.
Okay.
And he's
so
gonna...
before you go to that, let me just check in with the rest of the cast really quick. Is anybody else wanting to do anything in Night Market before you head off back to Dunslow, dropping Aldo off? Does anybody else have anything in Night Market they'd like to do?
No.
Everyone is heading back to Dunslow then? Carver?
What time is it?
It's basically coming up to the afternoon, so noon, basically.
Okay. So, bearing that in mind, I'd still have enough time to get where I need to go for the meeting place?
Yeah, you basically have all afternoon and evening until you have to get there for the meeting, yeah. Okay, so with that, we will return to Blinder. You guys have all safely in your carriages arrived to Dunslow and Blinder.
What was that person's name this morning? The
young kid?
Yes.
Brian.
And how do you know him?
He's one of the rookies of the fighting pits.
Is he good?
No, he's a water boy. It's really sad.
Have you ever seen him fight? Or...
Yeah, he can't really.
I see. It just occurred to me that yes, while Mercy's assistance is always welcome, Mr. Aldo and Virgil will undoubtedly need some sort of physical protection while we are not present, if they correct. I was thinking we have a resource. And recently, Marlene is your friend. I'm quite intimidated by the woman. Yes, quite intimidated. But, thought.
So what you're saying is that I should hire some muscle.
Or an arrangement, yes. If they, I'm sure that there are many fighters who probably don't like the cot they sleep on, or wherever it is that you people do on your off hours. We can, well, a recently cleaned up hovel, with a bath. Well,
And I was going to say, we give him the opportunity to fix the place up.
Give them the opportunity or make them fix the place up?
Make them pay to fix the place up under the guise of giving them the opportunity to learn how.
Okay, fair. Yeah, I'll talk to Marlene.
And I probably shouldn't be there when you do that.
Yeah, probably not.
So do you guys want to then maybe perhaps put Martin into the carriage with Aldo to head back to Pond Street, get him settled in, and then 2 or 3 of you, or the rest of you, however you want to do that, end up going to the fighting pits? Or is it just Reaper's going to go and the other 3 are going to head back to Pond Street?
I'll head back to Pond Street to Martin.
So Blinder and Martin head back to Pond Street. Carver, are you going with, or are you going with Reaper?
I'll hang with Reaper.
Okay, cool. So Reaper and Carver are, you motion to the other buggy, it slows down to Cabby. And then you're like, hey, these 2 are going to ride with him and keep heading the direction you're going. Us 2 are going to ride with you. We're going to go a different way. And so the 2 cabbies part directions, 2 of you heading off to Dunslow to sort of set Aldo in and get him comfortable and everything like that. Virgil is riding with you guys. At least for the initial transportation, he had said that he would end up heading back to pick up any extra things, but at least for now he wanted to be there while Aldo's being moved, just in case something bad happened, or he got shook too hard, starts bleeding again, or whatever, that sort of thing. So yeah, Reaper and Carver. You arrive at the Dunslow Fighting Pits, paying the cabbie for the fare, tips his hat to you, off he rides. His goats, yipped on. And you find yourself just outside, walking up in that same sort of place that Sergeant Velka had arrived from, basically the area where the cabs pull in and then drive off back towards other districts of town, Barrow Cleft, etc. You find yourself walking up that familiar small sort of hill that leads up into the fighting pits. It is the same noises and sounds both of you have become somewhat accustomed to, Reaper more so than Carver, but still, you've now been here a few times, Carver, so you're sort of used to the sounds of people fighting each other and training and running and the sort of general goings on of a training space and those who are engaging in fight. So you approach. What are you doing?
I'm gonna scope the place out, see if there's any blue coats hanging around, and then I'm gonna look for Marlene.
No blue coats, and you do see Marlene off in the distance.
Okay.
She seems to be working with one of the other fighters, more, in tune with them. One of the more experienced seasoned fighters.
Okay. I will approach her, and I will stand off to the side waiting for her to finish.
Okay. So they go through a couple of different things, very quickly as you're approaching, and eventually the fighter kind of looks over at you, and then Marlene, drawing upon that, looks over at you, and she's like, oh, hey, Reaper. How are you?
Hey, Marlene. I'm good. How are you?
You keep doing what you're doing here, guy, she says, and she slaps him on the back and walks off towards you.
How's Brian?
Oh, he's fine. Yeah, he told me some lady popped him in the face. I presume he would have said your name, so...
No, it was Mercy.
Oh, that's one of your friends?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Nice to see you again. Carver, was it, right? She says, and she reaches out a hand to shake yours.
Shake her hand.
Yeah. Of course,
So I
to
have,
talk about before you guys started talking, sorry to interrupt you, but
That's
she,
okay.
she would have given you sort of a half hug while you guys talked. You know,
Yeah.
that sort of like, great to see you sort of thing. Yeah, but anyways, please.
So I have a question, a favor, a necessity. I need a couple of your better fighters to help me guard a package. I can't talk about it out here. We can go to a more private place and talk.
I get it. Sure. So you guys head off into, we'll say, the same place that you guys had talked privately the one time, the like barracks space that's like where Marlene basically lives and where some of the other more elite seasoned fighters also stay. Her sort of inner circle, as it would be. I see a couple of people inside taking naps and whatnot, but most of them seem to be out training, mid part of the day, kind of the best time to train. She wakes up the person who's napping. She's like, hey, get going. And he like wakes up and then sort of slowly gets up, puts his feet into his boots, and then heads off, outside. Now it is just the three of you in here.
Go ahead, Carver.
Carver?
Figured I'd ask this before we get into any sort of business. Do you... Sorry, I'm not sure how to put this. What kind of dealings do you have with Brill?
Paid him a couple times for some information. That's about it. Why?
You know Aldo, right?
Oh, yeah.
I used my connection with Brill to extend otherwise what would have been a closed hand to Aldo.
That was you.
Yeah.
Oh, I appreciate that very much.
Brill is now on the opposite side of things.
What do you mean?
So I wanted to make sure that if we're going to be putting your guys in charge of what we're going to be putting them in charge of, then we weren't going to make things awkward for you.
Oh, you mean like this package is Aldo? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Aldo's awake.
He woke up.
He did.
Good. Is he talking?
Mm-hmm.
Good.
A little bit, but
Sure.
he's talking.
Okay. So this package that you set outside, this has something to do with Aldo? Is that what you're saying?
The package is Aldo. We need somebody to protect him.
He's not safe where he was? Where was he?
Somewhere in Night Market.
Oh, okay. So this Brill, you worked something out with Brill then? Some sort of deal?
We worked out a deal with Brill to send us a medical professional to assist Aldo, and he would provide the medicine.
Okay.
He has now cut off that medicine and has been sending people to check all the time. So I think they're looking for one of us, and I think they're looking for Martin. So we need
Told
to
you
move.
that guy was bad news. Told you.
So we need to move Aldo, and then I need protection while he's there when we can't be there.
I want to clarify something I'm not sure that you're aware of. I know Martin's a little rough around the edges, and I don't know what kind of history you have with him. He has alluded to the fact that there might be some. But he and Reaper both wanted for the same thing.
I get that you think you know Martin, but you don't know Martin. Okay? Not like I know Martin. I had the same sort of relationship a long time ago that I have with you, Reaper. We were real close. He was like a son to me. And he made some very bad choices. And when I tried telling him that he was making some very bad choices, he didn't give a fuck. He only cared about what people thought about him, and he went down a bad fucking path. And I don't want to see you go down that path, Reaper. And that's why I'm trying to point out to you that he's bad news. Now, I'm not speaking to what you think that you know of Martin right now, but I'm going to say that from my experience, and from what I know about Martin, and from what I know about, let's just say, where Martin comes from, I would much rather you avoid all of that trouble. Now, regarding taking care of Aldo, I'll help there. Because I care about Aldo, just like you care about Aldo. But if Martin's the one that's bringing the heat down on you, maybe you need to think long and hard about your connection and friendship with him. He made a lot of dumb fucking decisions when he was young, and he's probably now paying the piper for all those. That's what I presume it is. And I'm not saying that he can't change, because sure, I think everyone can change. I'm just saying that I don't want to see you get dragged into his shit that he created for himself with all the bad decisions he made, selfishly. So I'll help you. I'll send some guys. They'll watch over Aldo. You know, do what they can. Keep in mind, though, that I can't... You know I care about you, Reaper. But you also know that I'm running a business here, which means I can only manage them for a short time. A few days, maybe a week.
Okay.
I mean, after that, we can work something out, you know, because especially the good ones, just like you were, they're the moneymakers around here. So if they're not in the pit fighting, then I'm not getting coin.
Right.
And I don't want you to pay me for that, you know what I mean? So
yeah,
because I want to make sure Aldo's okay. So yeah, I'll send a couple guys.
All right. Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah, just be okay. She says as she like hugs you, like coming in, you know, giving you a hug, and then like steps back and hand on your shoulders. She looks over at Carver, taking her hands off of Reaper's shoulder, reaches in for a handshake. You keep your eyes on this one, okay? Sort of gives you a bump on the shoulder, and then she turns and walks out and starts barking orders at a bunch of the recruits and things like that, getting them back into shape. You know, that they've been sort of slacking without Marlene's diligent gaze upon them, and so she immediately starts slapping them into order. At that, you see Eunice come walking around, and then she like peers in and sees you, and she's like, "Oh, hey!"
Oh.
Or not, sorry, not Eunice. Henna.
Oh.
Apologies,
Henna.
wrong name.
Oh.
Henna. My apologies. Eunice is on the boat. Henna is here. Henna sees you and comes walking inside.
Henna.
Hey.
Aldo's awake.
Really?
Yeah.
She like freaks out and she starts like jumping in that sort of joyous old woman way, you know, like as though youth has just hit her all at once. And she's just jumping and like grabs your hands, and it's just like it's almost like she's vibrating with excitement.
Yeah, it'll still be a little while before you can see him, but as soon as you can, I'll take you over there.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. Tell him that I hope he's getting better every day.
Okay. All right.
Make sure he eats too.
Okay, I'll make sure.
Okay. Where's that nice girlfriend of his?
She's doing well. She's back at her place right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
She didn't get wrapped up in all this, whatever this was?
No, thankfully not.
And it gives you that like sort of extremely old motherly sort of stare, like she's yeah. Okay. And then she lets go of your hands and says, well, I got to get back to work here. And then
Okay.
she goes off and she starts like cooking and getting food ready and things like that. She also starts barking orders to like a lot of the rookies you can see that do like the food prep and things like that. When you guys have actual shows that people come and bet on, you guys try to provide food and drink and stuff like that. And so it seems like Henna has been sort of overseeing that affair, and it seems like it's actually improved quite a bit. They moved out some tables, making it seem more actual tavern-like, but it's more of an outdoor. They've set some sort of open-air canopies over the top of it to block out what little bits of rain is pretty much always falling in Duskfall. And it seems, for being Dunslow, it still seems a lot nicer than it did. It's far less rough and far less just pieces slapped together and in that sort of like junk. It used to have that sort of junkyard vibe, and now it seems like it's actually sort of coming together and looking a little more professional. So yeah. So at that point, what do you guys do? Are you guys taking back off or hanging around?
Take back off and go towards Pond Street.
Okay. So Blinder and Martin, you guys had arrived. You had helped. I'll presume you helped Aldo inside and up, and Virgil helped, of course, up to one of the, we'll say, the extra bedroom upstairs. Getting him set up on a space to make sure that he has like a cot and a bed and like the whole nine until you can get like a nicer bed in there for him. He's at least set up for the time being. And he thanks both of you and continues sort of laying there. And Virgil checks in on him and stuff like that. But you had something, Blinder? Please go ahead.
Oh, after, in the middle of the, getting Aldo prepared, and which Blinder's gonna kind of generally avoid, like, interacting with Aldo too much. Kind of just, like, remembering the last time he saw him, like,
Okay.
up and about, I guess you can say.
Okay.
But he'll approach Martin after when they're upstairs getting everything settled, and he'll be walking down. Let's say he's walking down the stairs and Martin's walking back up, maybe, because they're carrying stuff or whatever.
Sure.
He's like, Mr. Martin,
Yeah.
I have a question.
What's up?
This business that you're mired in, I know you've said you don't know why. Well, there's no other way to say it. Will you be honest?
Was I being honest?
Yes. I understand we all have backgrounds and pasts and things like that. Maybe things we're not proud of, but
I have done some pretty shitty things to some people,
I see.
mostly in the form of physical violence to, I don't know, collect money. I'm a collections guy. It's what I do, or at least what I used to do. But so I mean, I know there's several interested parties out there that want to see pain come my direction, but well, they haven't caught me yet, and if they do catch me, they're gonna have a time trying to keep me anywhere. But I honestly have no idea why I'm being looked for. I would really like to know why I'm being looked for.
Remember, um, do you mind, if I tell you something, if we keep this between ourselves? Not that I don't trust the others, of course. It's just, I feel I owe you a little bit. You would not be mired in this mess, it seems, if it was initially, at least for me or my name being attributed to Mr. Aldo's. Today has me thinking about things. You had originally been blamed for Mr. Aldo's attack.
I suppose I have, but
And that was had something to do with me, incidentally. Obviously, I was there. Anyway, I feel I owe you. We are in, of course, a great deal of trouble, but you remember you asked me about Mr. Lord Skurlock?
oh well, I didn't hear the Lord part, but I heard the name Scarlock. I have no idea what it is, what it's for, who it is. It's a person.
A very powerful, influential person. Did you know? Can you recall how you heard the name? What the name was attributed to?
You see, kind of Martin just kind of looks off into space for just a second.
Go flipping through notes. 6 episodes ago. No.
Son of a bitch. I was running people down looking for information to try and find out who you were.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there was a guy. It was Teddy. Yeah. Teddy mentioned the name Scarlock to me. I don't know what it was for.
Well, what did he say? Is just Skurlock and that's it, or?
But I was tired, so I did not ask. Probably the way I should have asked. But I was just asking for names, and that was a name they threw out.
I see.
I had no idea who this person was or how it was connected to anything. It was just a name.
Well, I have heard of the name before. It's kind of a complex situation, as you imagine, and I don't really feel comfortable going into the vague details, only to say that he's very powerful, very influential, and, incidentally, he may be very determined to find you because of your questioning.
Oh, you think he's looking for me?
I don't know. All I know is that we do not want to run into him. Or whatever his agenda is. In fact, I've been dedicated these last couple of weeks, avoiding it.
Is this, Scarlock after you as well?
Honestly, I don't know. I've never met the individual directly, but well, we made an arrangement, and I did not fulfill my part bargain. was not comfortable. I came into some information about his nature, that his intentions were not forthright or would be in my best interest.
Hmm.
Today's kind of the day for confessions, it seems. Because I had the thought that Mr. Brill is a consummate businessman and is powerful and influential. And whoever's looking for you has obviously incentivized him enough to renege and possibly damage his reputation as a businessman. That must be quite an incentive.
Must have been.
Once again, I am...
Either that or he's just a shitbag and feels that his time of doing work was over.
I think everybody knows that we are faced against powerful and influential people, and it's been made clear to us that they have machinations against some of us, or if not all. So I haven't sought it necessary to reveal that particular information to them until it's appropriate, of course, and that becomes pertinent because it couldn't lead to nothing. I just felt I owed you.
You don't owe me. If you really feel like you owe me, just have my back.
Well, then I guess I'm taking it out against future protection services. Mr. Aldo's. I don't feel comfortable being around him. If you could take him these things that I believe Virgil wanted them placed near his bed.
Sure. I'll help you with that.
It's a little difficult to face the man who he was stabbed right in front of me, so.
Yeah, I get that. And as Martin takes the things from you and starts to head upstairs, you catch the corner of his eye drop from his normal kind of smirk that he carries.
Mm-hmm.
The corners of his mouth kind of come up a little bit, and you can see a little tremble on like the side of his eye, but not like an eye twitch, but like when you're trying to hold back, like emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like, "Yep," and he just walks upstairs with the stuff.
So, Martin, at this point now, finishing your conversation with Blinder, heads upstairs into Aldo's room, dropping off the things on the side banister. Like a small table had been set next to him. And as he goes to set them down, he sets them down looking at the things, and then he feels a hand touch his. And he sees that Aldo has reached out and is touching his hand, like trying to get his attention. Not in that way of like poking him, but just like with all of his strength, he sort of reached over to touch Martin's hand.
Mm-hmm. And Martin will look over at him. What's up? How can I help?
Motions, like he moves his hand back and then motions for you to come in close.
I get in close within whispering distance.
These walls are paper thin.
They're fairly all right, but I wouldn't worry about it too much.
No, I mean, I heard you.
Oh.
It wasn't Scarlock.
What?
It's not Scarlock that's looking for you.
Oh,
It's not Scarlock that took Amanda.
you know about Amanda?
Yes.
Martin begins to shake a little bit as he reaches out for Aldo, like his face, to just kind of tell me everything you know. Please. And there's a genuine...
There's this, like, you can see that he's struggling to sort of stay awake to tell you these things. Like, you can tell how fatigued he is. It was Strangford, he says as he passes out. And as he's starting to, like, pass out and you're losing him, he says, Watch. Watch. And then he falls asleep.
I'll take the blanket and kind of pull it up over him a little bit, just a pillow or something to make it a little bit nice for him.
Virgil at that point sort of, you can hear his steps in the hallway, and he steps in. He's like, everything okay in here?
Oh, yeah. Everything's fine. We just had a couple little words. He's a little tired from the move.
Yeah. Yeah, he'll be like that for a few days, you know?
Yeah. So, thanks for looking after him, man.
No problem.
But,
You know, he asked
looks-
me that. He said, why are you doing this? And I said, you know, you're a tough old bird like me. One old man to another. You gotta look out for each other.
yeah, well, I'll get there one of these days.
Hopefully not too quick.
Yeah, hopefully not too quick.
Yeah. Anyways, what were you gonna say?
Oh, I just wanted to, again, say thank you for, looking after him. Really taking care of him.
You know, I haven't done good work like this in a while. I've been patching up gangsters for so long, you know, it feels nice to actually help somebody. So,
Right.
I appreciate the work.
Well, question for you then. How would you feel about some kind of some kind of deal or contract with us?
I got bills to pay, so I mean, you can pay me, then sure.
Okay.
Plus, I mean, at least for the time being, while the heat is on,
Yeah.
with Brill and everything, till we resolve whatever this is, yeah, I mean, I'll be around.
Okay. Well, I will talk with the rest of the crew because I'm not going to make decisions for them.
Sure.
I'll talk with the rest of the crew, see if we can't get you compensated for your time.
Oh, for the time being, don't worry about it. Brill paid me pretty well. I'm living off of that, sort of like a nest egg, so should be okay for a while.
Okay. Well, if you'll excuse me, I have something I need to talk with
Sure, yeah.
Blinder about.
Get to it. And he goes back over
And,
to Aldo and starts checking out.
And kind of like the 9-year-old kid who's done talking with their parents and immediately just sprints off down the hallway.
He's just
That's
out.
basically,
Okay.
I'm gone. I'm going downstairs.
During that point where you were having a conversation, Blinder would be aware of this. Mercy had arrived with Eunice. Eunice is sort of, they're sort of taking all of Eunice's stuff and they've brought it in and it's now in the main bar area. And by that point, as you're sort of sprinting down, you see Eunice like walking past you up the stairs, sort of looking at you, and like she waves at you and says hi, and then she goes up into the room and you see her scream Aldo, and then some chuckling and some things. And obviously Eunice and Aldo are somewhat reunited. I mean, you don't hear Aldo respond, so obviously he's probably still unconscious, but seems like Eunice is excited for the time being. Blinder, you were going to say something?
Oh, I was gonna say when Martin comes in, he saw a rat scurry across and he was gonna shoo it away, and then it just wouldn't go anywhere because it just looked at him, so he just kind of grabbed it, and so he's gonna walk in and see Blinder.
No. Not again. No,
I was.
put it
They have
down.
vermin sitting around. I was going to eat it. I swear. Sets it outside at the window. Shuts the window.
Dude, really?
Nothing. I was
In the middle of the day. You're going
Now-
to do this in the middle of the day.
cleaning a kitchen. You can't have rats in a kitchen.
At this
Sure.
point, Reaper and Carver arrive back at the Pond Street pub. Come walking in the door. A few minutes pass, and there seems to be quite a few more people here than there was previously. You can see Virgil upstairs working away. Eunice eventually pops out and waves at you and says hi. Blinder, Carver. Obviously, Carver's here with you, and Blinder and Martin are here, and Mercy is here. She's sitting downstairs in sort of the bar area. And
So,
go ahead.
I was going to say, so, 3 things. One, the walls in here are very thin. So, if you're trying to get it so people can't hear you, please talk in low voices. Second thing, I think I know who's following me or looking for me. Not following me. Because it's the same person that took my cousin. Because according to Aldo, they're at Strangford.
Strength.
That's who he said was
Who is
looking for me.
Strangford's a
It's a family name. Only thing I really know about them is they're posh rich people that are also, I'm assuming, very powerful and influential, as well as it seems that all the people that are coming up against us are all these monolithic people or groups. Makes it so much better when they fall.
see.
Carver.
So I'm there now.
Yes.
Arrived.
Yes. I presume you
Do
guys
I?
had walked back into the supply/kitchen room and are having this conversation privately.
Yeah.
Do I recognize that name?
Well, all of you recognize that name because it's been pointed out to you before by Mercy that Strangford is the richest, most powerful man in all of Duskfall. His family, very large, extensive family, are also very well connected, very powerful. He owns the largest fleet of Leviathan hunter ships in Duskfall, and so in a matter of speaking, he's basically the kingpin of the trade and commerce that Duskfall is based upon. He sits on the city council
That's
as one of the noble families, yes. He probably doesn't sit there himself. He probably has a proxy that does so for him. But yes, Strangford specifically and his family is very, very powerful.
Yeah, he said that they were looking for the watch. I will pull out the watch,
Mhm.
and then I will go and unroll some some tinker's tools,
Sure,
just like some small screwdrivers and stuff like that.
sure.
And I'm gonna look at Mercy. Like, hey Mercy, do you mind if I undo the back?
Do what you gotta do, man,
All right.
she says.
So before I start taking anything apart, I'm gonna look over this watch one more time with a fine-tooth comb, looking for anything out of the ordinary. And I don't know if you'd like me to make a roll for that, or if that's
Sure, yeah.
just-
Do a tinkering challenge or perception or
Can I
whatever.
assist with hunt
I was gonna say I'll use survey.
or survey?
Sure,
I have a
sure, yeah.
I have a done survey. Can
Yeah,
I
go ahead
use?
and-
Can I
yes.
assist him?
Yeah, go ahead and spend a stress,
stress?
and he will
'Kay.
gain a dice.
Sweet. So using survey to just kind of like go over it with my thumb and
Okay.
really take a good deep long look at it. I got us 2 and a 6.
Oh, full success. Wonderful.
Yes.
You had never quite looked so closely, but as you open up the watch and start looking it over, before you even really take it apart, you decide to give it a once over just to make sure you hadn't forgotten anything. And as you really get in there with your magnifying glass and your lights and all of your actual like Tinker's set, you realize that there is some, not to say scratches. Have you ever seen what happens when people repair metalwork?
Mm-hmm.
How there's that.
Yes, I have.
How they dig it out, but then they polish it, but there's always that tiny bit that can never quite match, right? They try to
Right.
hide it as best they can, but it's still always there. You know, you notice that on the inside of the watch, there is in the inside lid, there seems like there was probably an inscription over the inscription that's been placed on it, as though one inscription had basically been buffed away and then polished to make it look like it wasn't there, and then a new inscription that said "To Martin" was written over it, engraved.
Okay.
You can't make out what the previous inscription says because it has been written over, but you are aware that there was something probably else there, which is pretty common in sort of hand-me-down jewelry, but at the same point, it
Sure.
wasn't something you had quite realized before.
Then I'm just gonna look up from the watch straight over to Mercy if she's down here.
She's standing
What-
there basically super awkwardly as though she's been caught with like doing something bad or something. Like she has these like very concerned eyes, and she's kind of sitting there awkwardly like waiting to see what you say basically.
What did this say before you gave it to me?
I'm just gonna say right now, I didn't know who he was. Okay, you know how these things go, right? I was pulled in on a job, and one thing led to another, and I took the watch. It was really nice, and the guy just seemed like a random guy, and
What did it say?
it said, "To my loving son," and then it had a name on it, first name.
What was the name?
I mean, it was a pretty common name, John. I mean, that's a common name.
Out of character. Question just for Mike.
Hmm?
Do I know who is John Strangford? Do I know this name at all?
You've never quite heard it, but I mean, there are rumors and things amongst the world. You know, very important people and their family tend to be well known. I mean, you could probably ask around and find out if this is a person. You don't, off the top of your head, know a John Strangford necessarily. You've never quite heard any of the Strangford's first name. You're not on that sort of basis with them. You use people.
Right.
Normally, people use titleage like Lord Strangford, the Strangford family, the Strangford noble line. You know, it's from the upbringings you guys were at. You've never, other than in potentially newspapers, you don't really have a resource by which you would have even known their first names.
Martin will put the watch back in the little hidden pocket that he has. Well, I'm not mad at you, Mercy. I'm really not. Okay. You know why? Because shit happens.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, you got me. This is kind of a sweet pickle.
I didn't know whatever this was going to happen. I just thought he was some rich kid trying to play, you know, wild card, trying to be a criminal. And The guy pulled a gun on me, and it was my life or his. And so I had to do what I had to do, you know?
Wait, you took this from... Oh boy. That's why it's being looked for. Okay. And with that, Martin just kind of walks, kind of almost shuffles, but walks over to something to sit on and just kind of slumps.
The last thing I'm going to say, and I haven't been able to find out anything else other than this, but I think that because you have the watch and people have seen the watch, I think that they think you did it, Martin. They don't even know that it was me. Carver.
Carver turns to Mercy. Now might be an opportune time to figure out if the Red Sashes have any more enemies whose reputations could stand to fall.
What do you mean?
For all they know, Martin found that watch in a stash. A stash hidden away by who knows. But we could solidify that story and further the cause of the Red Sashes all at the same time.
Honestly, I think it's better if we keep the sashes out of this completely.
Knocking an enemy of theirs down a peg.
Yeah.
Or we could simply say that we bartered it from Brill.
I don't think you understand is that the sashes are aware that Blinder is wanted by someone really potentially very powerful. And now if they find out that Martin or myself is now wanted by a different potentially powerful individual, they're going to write you guys off completely. This is why I didn't bring this up. This is why I didn't say anything. I tried at one point talking to Blinder about this when I originally found it out, and then another point I thought about talking to Martin about this, but I wanted to know more before I brought anything up. I wanted like hard proof of what was going on. I didn't know this had anything to do with Aldo. I hope you understand that, Reaper. I didn't know that this somehow affected Aldo, and I feel so bad. She says, and you can see like tears are starting to form in her eyes. Like there's this obvious guilt and just she's overwhelmed by this sort of chain of events that she obviously at this point feels like she caused. Martin.
As soon as she starts crying, the immediate slump just goes away, and immediately Mercy is embraced by Martin.
Okay. You can tell that she's trying to be strong about it, you know, like she's not just like bawling her eyes out. Like she obviously has strength and like can stand on her own too, but it's one of those like it's when something overwhelms you so much that you just can't keep but those tears just falling down your face, you know. And but she definitely accepts your embrace, and you hear her saying she's like, I'm just so sorry, and she basically says that a few times and then just sort of quietly hugs you.
My idea was to pin this on someone who deserves the target on their back,
Brill.
to speak.
I agree.
I think, well, we have three paths ahead of us. Brill. We have the information we acquired about Pro. and we have this situation with the bill hooks. I think we've already started the seed rolling. What will protect us now, and the reason why we started this endeavor, let's remind ourselves at least my motivation was consolidating our efforts to protect ourselves. And we extended that to this neighborhood. We have taken roots. We are set in action. We are committed. Corin said to me, the fear is a weapon. Now, we may not be feared. We may not have done actions that have caused fear. But we have set it in people's minds that we might be capable, especially by our association with books. If we were to set this into Mr. Brill's mind, I think that rumor turned into reality. Powerful and influential people have money, power, and influence, but they never do anything directly. They must always muddy their hands. And for that, they go to the street. And if the street fears us, then we are 1 inch closer. We are 1 inch outside of their reach. We use the shadows. So I suggest that we either Brill first, or we deal with this situation with the hooks first, because either situation would benefit us. I think the more pertinent one would.
Which one did you say was the more pertinent one?
Oh, either one is the one is more obviously if the bill hooks want something done quickly or sooner than Bill, we would do that first, I would imagine. But either situation is of our choosing. Sooner or later, though, we're going to have to start earning some money.
But we still have some money.
We do, but that will go away very quickly if we start employing as many people as I think we're going to be employing. And Pearl Row is information that does have an expiration date, I'm sure.
Random thought came to mind. What if Brill heard about the Strangfords looking for me? Well, looking for the watch.
Brill sold you the watch or bartered it to you in order to put the target on your back, then he could cash it in.
You would have to give that get that information to Strangford.
I wonder if that's why Brill was looking for you, Martin. Maybe he plans to sell you. Maybe that's what this whole bounty thing is. That's what initially drew me to this whole bounty thing, right?
Yeah.
Whenever we found out about it and everything, people have mentioned it, and I've heard rumors, and I've been trying to put the pieces together, and I've basically told you guys everything that I know at this point, because too much of it is just buried underneath veils and back alley deals, and this person talking to that person, so I don't know what's true and what's not. But maybe that's why Brill is looking for you. Didn't they say something about a watch or something, right?
Yeah.
Now, as far as I know, they were just looking for me.
They mentioned the watch in your description.
Yeah,
and that's an odd detail to pass on.
Didn't Virgil say something about that? Didn't he say that like they were talking about a watch and they were talking about you and just they described you?
Yeah. I think they did. Now I really want to go pummel Brill in the face. Really badly.
Well, maybe you'll get your opportunity.
Okay.
Second random thought. What if we just go to Brill and tell him that Strangford is following me, and then I'll lead Strangford back to him unless the bounty gets removed?
Because then Brill's armed with intention and motivation, as well as the knowledge of what we're gonna do.
Plus, I don't think it was Brill that put out the bounty, Martin. I think it was someone else. That's some big strings to pull.
True.
I just want to remind everybody, though, that Carver said he had something to do later today. Should we be focusing on that, or?
Yes, we should focus on that first. Of course, you're right. Absolutely.
Yeah. You are right.
It's just so many things to do.
You know, that's what living this life is, I guess.
We'll get it figured out.
Well,
So, two things very quickly. It's basically the same thing. Would you guys like to start that scene tonight? Or would you like to wait for next week to begin the Carver scene?
I think it would be good to do it next week, honestly, because
Yeah.
then we can really get into it. Because it's Carver's background, and that's
Yeah.
juicy deliciousness that I don't want
agree.
to participate in.
I was at least going to do a sort of intro for it, basically, is the idea. But if you guys feel that you would rather do that next week, that's totally fine. We can basically start there next week is kind of how we'll start the night. So that's
Yeah, no
good.
suspense. We got to make the audience want to come back.
Yeah, I
That's
have
true.
to be the boring one, but like it is getting that time.
That's very
So
So I guess with all of those conversations out of the way, a tiny bit of truth now being revealed, more so, all of the characters are starting to see a bit more of the puzzle laid out before them. I think that's where we will call our game this evening. So awesome.